Sweat Equity Podcast. Ooh, I'm feeling a little country vibe.
I never feel a country vibe.
Jeez, you look like a serial killer, Eric Reginger.
Thank you for the name, and I was with them all weekend. Sick of these
Country
rednecks.
guys?
Yeah.
I want to hear about that.
Sorry.
Let's bring in our guest, Henry.
What's up?
Hollingsworth
Henry.
Hello.
of allday.io. If you're feeling horny, go on that site.
Check us out. Super simplicity websites.
Yeah, so UI, UX, web design experts, friend of the program, and we wanted to come on and talk some Squarespace versus WordPress versus Weebly and Wix. Before we get to that, why do you hate country people so much, Eric?
I'm country. You should know that.
Your
I
country?
secretly
I'm from
you.
North Carolina, the southernmost part of North Carolina.
Yeah, but technically you're maybe rural. I can't say that word.
No,
Roger.
no, 100% country.
You-
I'm from down yonder. We had a voice like this until I moved out of high school. I don't quit for nobody.
Yeah, that's
Whoa,
good.
really? I didn't know this. Tell us about this life.
So that went away, huh?
I'm from Hampstead, North Carolina,
Uh-huh.
which is right outside of Wilmington, North Carolina, about 30 miles.
You're right in between Zach
It's perfect.
Galifianakis and Seth Galifianakis.
I'm their third brother.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, well, yeah, so we use words like yonder a lot, down yonder, and just all kinds of country words that I get to bring into my new professional dialect where I don't have as much of a country slang, but to get to keep the words.
I say y'all,
Y'all's
and I
good.
use it professionally.
Yeah, you type it in emails even.
I'm actually proud to, this is a new contraction word that I created.
It's smarter.
From the southern language, which is y'aller, like Y apostrophe A-L-L apostrophe R-E.
I'm going to steal this.
And so
I know where you're going.
So you say
Y'all are stupid.
yeah, exactly. Like y'all are good with that, right? And it's like it's the best professional southern slang word you could do.
I use y'all in professional mediums, in professional settings, because we it's part of the brand a little bit of the message. I'll say y'all in a sentence, but I'll also talk about the complexity of programmatic advertising. Because that's the way I roll. And that's the way I want it to be.
You gotta throw that balance in there, man.
I'm almost doing it on purpose. Is like, try me.
Yeah.
Like, huh? What? Like doing that move.
I'll
where
throw
you,
a joke and then pump my chest in your face.
yeah, you puff up.
That's
do
right.
stupid guy act first. And
Yeah.
then you come in. Your
Yeah.
hustle. You do
Slow
a
play.
meeting hustle.
Slow playing poker.
Right.
You're
It's
like,
like-
this guy doesn't do anything.
It's like where you do a professional handshake and then you do that on the wrist.
no, not at all.
Maybe it's like you
he's
do that
doing
on
like
the
a-
wrist
he's
and
doing
then
like
you
a
do the handshake.
I don't know what
clit rubbing
truckers-
finger thing on somebody's hand.
I was
You
going to
can't see
improv
it.
and yes and you, but no, not at all.
No,
We
and
Don't do
but.
that.
Don't
Yeah.
ever tickle a guy's hand.
Dude, it is the funniest thing in the entire world. You can break any dude by doing that
Yeah.
during a professional handshake.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's great.
that I see.
That's how I meet
a
my
bad
clients.
host. A bad host would go. A bad radio host would go. I guess that's a southern thing.
Classic.
Hey man, I like a little frat green, a little Pat Green, but they called him Frat Green when I was in college because he placated to the frats. But little Southbound 35 is the jam for today. What else?
Yeah, real jam.
Lucky us.
You want to talk about the sponsors while I'm thinking of it?
Why don't you go into this? I want to hear about the. I want to hear about your country friends.
Sure.
Go for it.
We went hunting. I went to a bachelor party, 10 dudes, and it's at a hunting camp up in Crystal River, Florida.
So a lot of
And
dick.
Lots of wieners out everywhere. And it was a thing where it's a reserve, so you can't just walk out with guns and shoot whatever you see. Basically, they have like their inventory of animals that, oh, you want to shoot a hog? It's this much. You want to shoot a whatever? It's this much.
Yeah.
So my buddy went out, the bachelor. He was the one designated to kill. We had an axis deer that we could kill, and a
Really?
hog.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And an hour in, we were riding around in a truck drinking, following him from far behind.
You sound pretty country so far.
Yeah. I was in a tuxedo. Dude, an hour in, he had never shot this gun before. One shot, one kill, got the deer first.
Dang.
And then we had another pair go out for the hog. Didn't get it that night, but they had the bloodthirst and went out the next day. 2 shots, 2 kills. Hog from 160 yards. My buddy Travis never shot that gun before. Pretty impressive.
160?
Yes.
From
dude.
the hip?
Yeah, he was flipping it around,
That's
doing all kinds of tricks.
insane.
That reminds me of my Auburn days where we walked in on our buddy watching a hunting video that the guy cried after he shot something. He shot like a 10-point buck or something. He's like,
See,
that's
yeah.
the most beautiful thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so excited. And we're like, what the fuck are you guys watching?
Right. The same guys that'll call you a queer city boy for not knowing something that nobody knows all weekend.
Yeah.
Got that side of things.
Oh, I've never shot a gun, and I told him that. I've been hunting and just sat there and didn't shoot the shotgun I had in my hand. I was in a deer stand for 5 hours.
Someone put a shotgun in your hand and no one showed you how to use it first?
Yeah.
And you didn't shoot it
I'm pretty good on the fly.
I think I can figure it out.
Okay.
I was in a tree stand. You really couldn't do anything. Like you,
To blow your own head off.
I think he was like, he showed me what to do.
It wasn't loaded the
I
whole
got
time.
it. Yeah,
I'm
it probably
sure.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Just give him the fucking fake
We
gun.
went-
Give him the gun.
fake
We
gun.
can hold something.
We were snipe hunting, really. So
160
no,
yards out.
that's the thing, man. I need to go shoot a gun, but I've got an itch. And this relates to doing all this digital work. Is I have an itch to do like woodworking, to do archery. I've never done any of these things really, or like do like professional race school and try that. I don't
Wow.
know. I think I'd be good at that. That's why I think I want to do that. But the other two,
All guys think they could be professional race car drivers.
I don't think so. I think
I think I could for real though.
I think it
definitely
takes
could.
a certain. Well, let's go to Daytona across the state, and let's go to the driving school. There's a weekend school you can do.
I just got to learn how to drive a stick first, and then I'm
That's
a
it. I don't know
professional
either.
race car driver.
I don't know. I think I have the thing where I can be calm when there's a lot of stuff
When
going
you have
on.
to pee and you know that you just have to pee on yourself.
If you ever been in,
There's 250 miles left.
have you ever
I
been
got time?
in that situation where it's like emergency all around you, and I get calmer. Like I don't freak out. I go the other way, and maybe that's just being a contrarian more than anything. But like,
Fuck that worry
like I
shit.
had to take my wife to the
Call
hospital.
911.
I had to take my wife to the hospital and totally just like fully calm, breathing fine, just like heart rate, no problem.
Yeah,
Like
I'm kind of the same
it's
way.
like just get there, think about the mission of being
Dude,
there.
you're born for those moments.
Well-
and you haven't tested yourself
I got
in the wild.
to what takes a normal trip to the hospital takes from where we used to live, kind of close to this office.
This does not count towards your professional race car driving
It kind of
acumen.
does. So
He's
you have to
saying.
have the vision, man. 15% or 15 minutes. I think I got from there to here to the hospital in 4. So you,
Wow.
so you have to like. There
You're
is-
also a felon now. From that.
there is like there's a vision thing and a spatial awareness thing that I think I've got that a lot of people I don't think have.
Sure. Why do they have to be so long? The races, 500
Oh, I don't want
miles.
to do that shit. I mean, just
Dude, you're a drag car racer through and through.
yeah. I'm a sprinter, man.
Yeah, sprint.
100
Funny
meter
car.
dash.
Show me the line.
Give me Big Daddy Don Garlitz. You know, he's right at his museum's right up the street, man. So we wanted to get you on, talk a little HH. We wanted to bring you on and talk a little. We were talking about this. We need to make a chart that shows, because we were going to have this conversation a lot, and I have two or three client requests actually right now, like currently, that want information on why I prefer to use Squarespace over WordPress or any other CMS, which is a content management system.
Shithole. Sorry.
So when people, I try to make sure I hit all the acronyms out there for y'all that aren't in this world.
UX,
Because
UI, you missed that one.
yeah, thank you.
Saying.
User interface, user experience, and so that's just how you interact with it on a user level. Your iPhone's a really great example of really simplistic
Functionality.
and complicated at the same time if you want it to be, right?
Right.
It's simplistic enough for my kid who's 20 months old to use. He loves using my phone and my watch, but at the same time, it can get us. I don't let him use it too long because it can fuck up a lot of stuff on there that I have.
Right.
Don't mess up my stuff.
Like you
I
can
thought you were gonna say something about his eyes or something.
no,
Mess up my Google Drive.
no, don't go over to my Pornhub.
That's true.
Please.
Yeah, I'll show you that when you're 12, okay? Well, you'll figure it out by then, I guess. But what's it called? I think there is always this kind of duality with a lot of things that are digital. You call it the iceberg theory. You know, you can call it whatever you want. There's the duality of there's simplified way of looking at it, and but everything is way more complex if you break it down. And I used to be really bad probably about a year ago, and I'd go down this complex route in that way of like saying y'all and hotty toddy, because I forgot to do that in the beginning.
I noticed though.
Yeah, I didn't forget.
I'm gonna
Thank you, Henry.
we've got another episode. I think I forgot to do it on. I'm gonna record.
No, I think you did it.
I'm gonna do a
Yeah, we did
pre-roll.
We definitely did it.
And so my thing is, I want to explain this stuff. I want to show clients we know what we're talking about. That's a frustration point where you consider yourself somewhat of a, I hate to say expert, but like at least intermediate knowledge of a lot of this stuff.
There's a fine line on overkill and also selling.
Does
a
100
little bit.
sites like I've worked on, does that count? Does 50 WordPress sites I've worked on, does that count? Like, I don't know.
I think that's part of the credibility booster, but I think that you go apples to apples on them today, and for me, it's really easy to like clarify.
So you're very good at this. I've overheard you do some meetings. When you explain, like, hey, I think it's preferable to move you from WordPress to Squarespace. I'll give you the way I go about it, and then I'll let you answer. I always do it like, we don't want to do maintenance on your site. That's not how we work. We do a project basis. We'll do the website, and then if we do a retainer, we're an all-in-one kind of deal. You know, we're not just the website maintenance group. We're the, you know, kind of get pretty much all front end stuff you need done, marketing and ops wise, branding.
Not IT.
Not IT.
See the next or previous episode.
Yeah, we are not IT, but we'll be that resource to find you a good IT, because we know how to find that. Or we'll give you that episode we just recorded that talks about how to pick an IT company.
Right.
And so I just go, I want to hand this off to you. This is your site. I don't want to hijack it. There's a weird thing. I was trying to write out notes for this episode today, and there's a weird thing. I was writing about WordPress. WordPress isn't the worst. Like, I don't work for Squarespace. I just go, what's the best horse, and I want to be on that.
Right.
And WordPress was the shit in 2008, right?
100%.
You had to code sites from the ground up before that, really.
Well, and from a content management perspective, it opened the door for clients like Squarespace does today, and what you sell for Squarespace. It made it easy to edit content for clients for the first time ever. Yeah, so it was like the first open-faced, open source even kind of CMS system.
Open face club sandwich,
Yeah.
open face DIY CMS.
CMS, there we go.
Do it yourself.
Delicious.
And so that, like, it was awesome in 2008, because it goes, okay, you don't have to get a badass programmer to do this, and think of it how bad it was to hire someone for this a long time ago. Like, it was really difficult. You have to find a guy. Now there's a lot of people.
Right.
WordPress has plugin system, which is good. You can plug in a Yoast SEO plugin, and that'll help. But I think it became too reliant on that kind of plugin system and too many plugins. I think about like a switchboard operator, like old school. Like, let me get you on the phone, Mr. Johnson, and just like put it in
Jerry
that.
Lewis routine.
Yeah, and I think
phones are ringing off the hook.
and I was thinking, like, that's how I visualize like WordPress. Essentially, it's like it's a little obsolete, and it relies too heavily on user-generated plugins. It's not WordPress making these plugins.
Right.
It's third parties.
That's the big piece, and that's the big piece today.
And so there's the twofold: the plugins part and like the experience for the client to use it.
Sure.
When we if you don't want to put us on, I shouldn't call it retainer, subscription. That's what we're going to call it from now on. Is it's not worth our time to every couple months for you to go, hey, can you change this copy in here? or can you do that?
Right.
The WordPress
When it takes
developers,
5 seconds, you know.
However, this WordPress world of developers that are experts, that's their bread and butter. They want to get you on
By the balls.
on a maintenance plan where they're not doing very much at all.
Right. And that model worked well for, let's say, the last 5 years, you know, but now, to your point, there's all these new systems, including Squarespace, that simplify it, also take all of the updating maintenance kind of out of the equation from a core of the system kind of update. You know, you don't have to worry about those, where WordPress, that's part of their vulnerability today.
Yeah, and
You're talking security update sort of stuff?
Partly, well, yes, but also that's what's breaking websites today too. So WordPress has maybe gotten ahead in terms of their core updates than most websites that have been built in WordPress over the last 6 years, to the point where it's kind of starting to affect websites today who haven't had, you know, website companies maintenance their WordPress site and keep it up to date. If you don't do that, you know, which a lot of people don't, just because they don't want to spend the money on the month to month, you know, you get to a point where it's just gonna, you know, any update can start to affect
the best
health
way,
of the site.
The best way to conceptualize a website for any business, or if you're doing your own thing, you're a DIYer, you taught yourself how to use one of these systems, you have to think of it as a living document. Like, you have to think of it as your storefront that is open 24/7.
Right.
Still got a vacuum.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect scenario.
Wash the windows.
There's going to be dust on it. You have to get in there and you have to update it continuously. If you're not used to that, that's the big riff, I would say, between a lot of people that get a website up, they don't do anything to it for years a lot of the time.
Right.
And you should put it in your...
It's more of a marketing objective of, okay, check, I've got a website now, whereas it should be, I've got a website that is a part of our growing, scaling business that we need to kind of let grow with us through, you know, being a part of our
Yeah, it needs to be a
marketing plan.
bigger piece.
Right.
Big piece.
and use it efficiently. It's the best utility you've got because
Right.
it works 24/7.
Right.
That's why I got
Doesn't
into this
stop
world,
working.
because it's like, oh, you do a dickload of upfront work, right? If the hours are in a chart, a bar chart, vertical bar chart.
Bar chart.
I love bar charts. it looks like a ski slope.
Yep.
It's a lot of upfront work to set up everything, but the ski slope doesn't just go down to dirt.
To zero. Right.
It's still, you got some moguls still
Right.
as you go on for the
Right.
year. And
Totally.
so I try to explain that it's so much upfront work. We could literally spend the whole retainer, like 90% of the retainer in the upfront, getting a website, getting your brand, getting the ads set up, getting your whole content schedule. I'm not going to even get into that part. Just with the website, use it correctly. You can trim down cost on hiring people if you make a good scene. If you're showing like, hey, behind the scenes kind of stuff through the blog on the website. Hey, this is why this is a great place to work. Top 5 reasons to work at this company. We have these kind of benefits, this kind of stuff. Take a little time with that. Maybe once a week you post something about what you're doing well. That can go so long into not only the marketing, bringing in leads or transactions, converting whatever for e-commerce. It can lower your human capital costs, which is always the biggest like expense and the reason a lot of people can't scale.
Right.
Is because they hire too many people. Employees are expensive. Eric's going through a ledger right now and looking at a lot of that, analyzing a lot of that. And you go, what is the value of this person, kind of thing.
Right.
If you could get the right hires by spending just a little bit more effort on the site, we've done it. We have a lot of people that want to intern here, but we're like, you know, I don't
like you.
I want to have time to be able to manage them.
Right. And at least screen them, you know, have a little
Yeah.
bit of, get somebody in that, you know, really driven sort of thing and not just doing their hours.
And
We'll
shout
do
out-
that too if you're willing to do bitch work, but
Yeah, we had an intern that I just gave her a book, and I was like, read this book. That'll cover whatever many hours. I don't care, because you're not going to stay here. So it's, you know,
right.
I'll let you get your school hours.
Just absorb what's happening around you, and
But when she was
See
going
in
to be
the
done in
next
40
life.
hours, so it was like, what's the point?
Right.
I can't, unless you really want to do this work and get involved.
we really shouldn't have made her translate the podcast to Spanish.
Yeah, well, yeah, that because she doesn't speak Spanish.
I know it was full of grammatical errors.
So with the WordPress community, like the reason this is a hard conversation too is when you like there's not a lot of information on the other side, right? So you'll read these lists. If you Google, because I've been doing it the last couple of days just lightly, if you Google like comparison chart between Wix and WordPress, it's always a submersive content machine that's getting them back to WordPress, right? It'll be a site. It'll be a kind of a fake landing page site that's like developernews.io or something like that, right? And it'll look like it's like legit. And it's just like any of this other clickbait bullshit.
Everything you Google, the first 4 things are a major company that have like a shell company as like a review, whatever, and they're just pimping out their own stuff.
Right. And so it's like these WordPress guys, because this is what they do, right? It's easy for them to make these landing pages that are just content BS artists. Mm-hmm. But the information out there, because WordPress is 50% of the market share, because they got in, they were like the first one.
They revolutionized the web. So like they get all the credit for that. They also did like there was also what was the other big one of that day? So there was
Wix.
No, not even on the Wix kind of
GeoCities.
Kind of like well, I don't remember the other one, but anyway, WordPress
Netscape.
It was basically like an iPhone Android race between WordPress and one other content management system that was a little bit more on the Drupal.
Okay.
So it was WordPress and Drupal for a little while, and those were the
Joomla.
And Joomla, I could
get up to that.
Joomla, I don't want to really talk about, but WordPress, and it was WordPress that really created the first huge community and especially made it really consumer friendly. They created the first UI user interface for a content management system that was really easy to use. And then the big thing is that they made it super customizable. So they have a whole theming language that you could build a website one of 100 different ways on there. Now that leads to like part of the downside, bad side of it, where today we've got all these different ways and all these different companies building themes in WordPress. But you can build an entire program inside of a WordPress stack. And so
what's a stack?
You're losing us.
Yeah.
You can build
I know you're in it, but I got to stop you because stack always stops me because it means different things.
That's a good catch. Okay. The WordPress theme, though, can be a program, and then WordPress is the platform, and stack and platform is kind of the same
use the house
description
metaphor.
Right.
So if WordPress is the frame
or the
foundation
of a house, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So WordPress is the foundation of the house. It is the entire concrete block, and then you can build anything on top of it.
Which I'd say the HTML is like your framing, your wood frames, the
HTML is
the development side,
exactly, and
the
then
design side is your paint, your drywall, crown molding, all that stuff. And then when you're building a house, it's the same thing as a site because you'll build the HTML part, then you'll do the CSS part, then the HTML part, and so that's development design, and it looks like a zipper almost in my head.
Sure.
I'm trying to help kind of paint a picture because it is still complicated to explain to a lot of people.
And there's so many keywords, and half of them are buzzwords that mean multiple things now. And that's just the state of the digital web.
We've got another podcast episode in the hopper for that one.
Right. So
glossary episode.
Entire mission is to simplify, but what WordPress hasn't been able to do is just that: is kind of simplify because they are so broad in how you can build inside of WordPress. We've gotten to a state of like true issues where like plugins is one issue you mentioned. Like any company can be a WordPress plugin company and submit their own. The problem is that you could submit it. It can be live on the store, but you haven't maintained in 3 years. It's actually on an old server. That server's been hacked, and all of a sudden your website's been hacked because it's a direct line into your website.
So you use it like the house, right?
Right.
You don't have Simply Safe or any of that.
Right.
You don't have a security
Nest system.
Right.
Exactly.
And you're leaving yourself vulnerable. You bought a house, and you can't just not upkeep it.
Right.
This is why I use this house metaphor.
If you get if somebody throws a rock through your window or somehow a window breaks, like things from the outside are gonna come in, right? If you have any break in the house, like so, same thing with a website, and vulnerabilities happen over time. The thing is over 5 or 6 years, WordPress has been the biggest in terms of its community. They've done constant updates, but slowly it's gotten to a point where they're starting to be eclipsed, like the Squarespace, who has done the difference then is like they go apples to apples today in terms of, their community, their theming language, the platform itself. All of it is pretty bridgeable from one to the other. Where it's different is where technology has taken over today and just evolved. So like instead, WordPress is setting it up. You have to go through it sounds ridiculous to me talking about it now in contrast with Squarespace, because with WordPress, you got to go through these steps to like set it up on a server and like, do this whole configuration piece. And I would say people who aren't developers, let's say 80% of the people get stuck there. Like can't finish to get the website live or in a working link. And that's where there's some technical difficulties that they'll always run into, where people will always have to hire WordPress developers for. Whereas Squarespace, first of all, it's cloud-based. So it is the state of the web in the future. It's auto-scaling. It's limitless in terms of being on a cloud-based server.
Instead of having to do the old school way of like, you used to have this thing called FTP, like, putting files in and like having this weird system of like manually importing and exporting files. That's old school. That's how they used to do it.
Kind of. And that's still going to be around.
Still, but I'm saying like it's not really anything you have to touch in Squarespace.
Right.
Unless you want to.
Unless you want to, yeah.
So yeah, exactly. Squarespace comes in, it bridges that entire gap where the only setup you have to do is.
I'm a hipster developer.
Right. Yeah, I like how you think, because it gets me out of the development mode too a little bit to talk a little bit on the surface level. But also, I mean, you think about Squarespace and getting started. It's as simple as saying, who am I? What website theme do I want? What style do I want? And getting started. It does the whole server setup, all the configuration, adds your name, you put in a couple other pieces, and your website is basically live. Like it's on a staging link, but live. I could send it to anybody.
Oh, you just reminded me.
And that's a huge piece. You want to talk about quick setup points and quick startup and getting something live quickly, especially landing pages.
Live testing of it.
Live testing.
You can drag and drop something and see exactly what it's going to look like immediately.
And in WordPress, you can do these things, but you think about 5 years ago and how we did things then, especially with server side, which is where WordPress lives. Whereas this revised platform on Squarespace, eclipses that entire first third of the project, the setup, and then from there you get to be a prototyper, if you will. I mean, you kind of get
you can build it without putting in any information. You can have that thing ready to go. You put your credit card in, boom, it's live.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say let's simplify this point a little bit.
And one piece, just one final note to make there is that on top of all of that, with WordPress and its capability of plugins allow you to bring extra functionality into your site. So Squarespace has that. You also have like a page builder function inside of Squarespace, but it has the developer mode and a whole theming language that you can bring down to your computer as a developer would want to in WordPress. So it's the same exact kind of from a platform and what you get and how simple it can be. It's just refined and better and current with today's technology. So it is if you're going to build a website today, WordPress is the buzzword. WordPress is the word that's made it down to every small shop. Like, you need to be on Facebook. You should probably have a WordPress site. Well, we've revised that a little bit because technology has grown up, and that's why Squarespace is a little bit more of the option. It's the WordPress of today.
So we're keeping these episodes. We're going to try a new format where we're keeping these of around 33, 34 minutes. I think we're getting close to the end here. Here's what I'll go. I'll try to do a quick rundown. Eric, you can fill in anything if I'm skipping over something, but
okay.
I'm not going to get too technical, but I'll say as far as designing a site with these CMS, these content management systems, being able in WordPress, it's a little convoluted. That's a big thing for me as someone who's going to DIY a site or I'm doing it on a professional level. The fact that you can in live time see how the site looks as you're changing it, the style, the design, that also meshes in with the development, where you don't have to flip back and forth as a preview and then go back to the administrative side, then go back.
Because WordPress does not have that, right? I've never.
You have to have a plugin to do that, I think.
Oh, okay.
Right.
But even getting that plugin, I think that one costs money, or like there's something that's not great about it. But also the plugin system is not great either because it's third-party system. So sometimes now these sites are getting overloaded with plugins because you're adding different developers in over the years. They're not cleaning out shit.
And then one plugin conflicts with another one, and then you have all kinds of issues that you couldn't know were happening because you're not a.
And it's really hard to know what's going to conflict with what.
Right.
There's The responsiveness, you get upsold this by web developers. They tell you, hey, we're going to make your website responsive. That shit has been like innate.
They make it seem like they're making 3 websites for you.
Right.
When it's like
That's how you
Squarespace
used to
does
do
it
it.
Right.
automatically.
Yeah, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, we were making a mobile site,
Phone,
a desktop
tablet,
site.
yeah.
Exactly.
And now you can, if you want to see the views of how it looks on mobile while you're editing it, you can do a mobile preview in real time.
On your desktop.
Right.
Right, yeah, as you're doing it on your computer. That brings me to another point. They are working on mobile, so you can edit things on mobile. It'll never be as expansive as if you're on a computer, but
That's
if you're in
cool.
Squarespace, I can see them working towards that. They're trying to go, okay, we can't do everything on mobile because it's
Not yet.
your phone's not there yet, but we can change copy. We can do some of these lighter touches that they can do.
Right.
Other thing I see future-wise between the two, I don't see WordPress really making a lot of moves. I do see over the years Squarespace making moves with Pinterest, doing things with Google G Suite, Dropbox integration.
Right.
They're trying to make these integrations a little bit easier for basically what we would already recommend on our own as a company, as a professional opinion. They're making it easier to do those things.
I just want to make one point to that,
Yeah.
which is huge, and this is one point where Squarespace also jumps above WordPress hand over fist. Is the
And we're gonna have to close on this.
web based?
So it better be awesome.
Well, Squarespace is web based, so it's a matter of going into your browser and building through a browser. Whereas WordPress is not web based. Like it is entirely, you have to load a link from your server and get that configuration, and then downloading it to your local computer is also essential to like working on the site. So but Squarespace being web based changes the game.
So you're sold.
I'm sold.
We did it.
Squarespace for life.
We solved the problem.
Squarespace, send us a sponsored link thing. Come on.
I know every
God.
podcast has one, but us, and we're
And we're the
actually-
only ones talking about it for realsies.
We do it for clients. Go to squarespace.com/sweatballs, and
Yeah, right. Perfect.
now we're never getting it.
No, we're never gonna get it.
But Squarespace, give us a hookup because you already denied us on the podcast.
You kind of
contest.
owe us.
So for Henry, for Eric, I'm Law. That's Sweat Equity. Hope that helps. We'll do better next time.
Hope that helps. Hope it helps.